Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Thoughts on market opening?
Well, just leave the Nifty aside, focus on stocks. Apollo Tyres is just breaking from a large bullish pattern, so is CEAT. And Bajaj Finserv, which after many weeks is coming out and probably going towards new highs. Many mid-caps, but I've named three of them: Apollo Tyres, CEAT and Bajaj Finserv. Okay,
so rubber tire stocks generally doing well. In fact, they had a good day. This week has been very good for the tire stocks. Mitesh, is the market giving you some new trading ideas?
Very much, Lata. I think I also have Apollo on my list, but Apollo Hospitals is the one I'm talking about. So it's a buy with a stop at 1185 for targets of 1250. And PVR, we discussed that it's now trading past the 1450 zone. So keep a stop below 1440 and take a long position for targets of 1520 to begin with.
Okay, I'll tell you something. The stock that looks really good to me right now is Hexaware. That's a stock which I think Sudarshan also spoke about it.
Yes.
There's this IT rally, which is of course on. Hexaware has been the strongest mid-cap IT stock, and post that Accenture read through, there's quite a bit of buying which is happening in some of these mid-cap IT stocks. So today could be a day of some of these stocks. Sudarshan, this was one of your calls. What would be the price targets here? As we speak, it's a bit of a breakaway gap, up 2%.
Yeah, I think you should just buy and hold on. The price targets could be very ambitious. Don't make it a day trade. Carry it forward.
Do you have a call here, Mitesh, on Hexaware?
Yeah, I think, today's gap is signaling some kind of an up move. The earlier highs of 346 is my target in the short term, and I would buy this one with a stop below 329.
Okay. Well, Prakash, anything new that you will trade?
Yeah, it looks like Colgate can climb up to around maybe 1100 zones. I also like Mindtree. That's holding up. Maybe we can see a target closer to 590. And even Century Textile looks good. Maybe 1420 is a target on that. So all three looking good to me.
Okay. The other stock that I had wanted to discuss even in the morning was Future Consumer. I mean, it had a vertical rally from Jan to October and then seemed to consolidate, and now it's picked up fresh steam, Sudarshan.
Actually, it's giving such ambitious targets, difficult even to speak about it. I think it should reach 100, 3 digits sooner or later.
Okay. Yeah, the way it is stretching its arms, it doesn't look like it'll be a tall ask.
Tell you something, Reliance Infra, just pull out the chart again, 4.5% higher now on that stock. Keep in mind it was up 10-12% yesterday, so big gains on that one. And the other stock which is really doing well today is HCC. And once again in that space where some of these stocks like GMR have done well. So HCC up about 4% at this point in time.
Well, actually, if we can get opinion on those stocks as well. And the other one I wanted to add to that list is Adani Transmission. That again is a stock that's done very well today, 5.7% higher. And I think for the month, it's 30% higher. It's one of the leading stocks in terms of performance with volumes, Adani Transmission. Prakash, you have a view on HCC or Adani Transmission?
I have a view on both, in fact. Hindustan Construction, I like it from a slightly longer term perspective. I think it's heading to levels closer to 50 because on a weekly chart basis has a strong support in the vicinity of 38 or so. As far as Adani Transmission is concerned, it's seen a good momentum pull. It's heading to levels closer to around 250 zone. It will take its own sweet time for that, but yes, it's going up. 220 seems to be a strong support zones.
Okay, clearly.
I just wanted to ask Sudarshan, any of these stocks interest you? Adani Transmission and HCC, which Anuj spoke about?
Yes, HCC is an excellent chart, a much better chart than Reliance Infra. Ignore Reliance Infra, consider buying HCC. Adani Transmission, maybe you can wait for a consolidation and go, but HCC is a buy.
Okay, HCC is a buy. Gentlemen, thanks a lot for taking us through the market opening. Of course, we'll keep talking to you. But the big story remains the big party in the mid-cap space. Pradeep Shah, Chairman and Founder, India Fund Advisors, now joins us. Pradeep, good morning. So many market cycles you have seen, of course. Your thoughts on the kind of mid-cap frenzy that we are seeing right now?
I think there's a desperate search for value. There's a desperate need for fund managers to invest money that is coming in like a tsunami every month from these SIPs and money that demonetization brought into the financial sector. So I think it is largely driven by money. However, we must recognize that the economy is doing well now. The effects of demonetization and GST are over. The whole world economy is firing on all cylinders. The US, the Europe, Japan, China are all doing well, and we, even in the worst case, no one talks of growth less than 6%. So we are doing quite well, and therefore there is some reason for optimism for equities. The price levels can, of course, correct overall if there are triggers which are visible do take place. So that's something one has to be always careful about. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good morning, Mr. Shah. Thank you very much for joining us. What would you advise investors? I mean, there are a lot of people in India who still do their own investing. Should they go for the infrastructure stocks, deeply leveraged, but in the anticipation that now the economy is starting up? So, you know, we were just speaking about stocks like HCC, Adani Transmission, all of them seeing a lot of gains now. Would you go with stocks in the infra space?
There may be some select companies in the infrastructure space which have addressed their issues of debt, of lack of profitability, and have turnaround stories, and those could be buys. But I think across the market to invest is a bit unwise. If you notice today also there is a newspaper item which says that the net NPAs of banks are increasing, you know, as they recognize more and more bad debts. Yep. Now, with the current insolvency law, these companies will face some wrath, and certainly that will fall a lot on equity shareholders. So I don't think it is very easy to say that you can invest blindly in infrastructure.
Okay. Well, actually, on that issue, sir, you know, there are a lot of people who are investing in stocks of companies which are in the NCLT. There is one set of bankers who tell us that if we are taking a haircut, equity is already written down. In fact, there are some buyers who even want these stocks not to trade. What would your thoughts be? Some of them are absolutely running away in the markets.
Yes, I sometimes get perplexed by that optimism and exuberance for buying stocks which are in insolvency, unless they know something better. If the lenders are going to spare the equity holders, then of course it's a different story. You know, in the classic workout situation in the West, equity shareholders get written down almost to zero. And then there is a conversion by lenders into equity or restructuring of different kind that takes place. But here, if equity holders are going to get away scot-free, then of course there is a great deal. The haircut and losses are all taken by only the lenders. I think it is too facile to say that lenders will allow that to happen on an ongoing basis.
Or the new buyers. I mean, at least the few bidders and bankers I spoke with don't have much sympathy for the equity part of the NCLT stocks.
Yeah. By the way, 4:1 advanced decline, and you know what? Highs are fixed on HCC. It's really one of those stocks which is having a big move at this point in time, and you know, we've seen it in the past over the last 2 or 3 days how some of these stocks which have breakaway gap add a lot of momentum in the last hours of trade. Now up 7% on that stock. Serious buying taking place at this point in time. It looks mostly maybe from the domestic desks as the institutional volumes really come down. But Pradeep, your thoughts on IT? That's also, you know, having a big run. In fact, this year it's been one sector which has had a secular run.
Well, I think in the IT space, many companies have been addressing this problem of reduction in pure application development service activity. So they have been offering not just services, but in addition proprietary products or best of proprietary products selected from outside and complete solutions to their customer. And that is what the market is moving toward. The customer wants a complete solution. And therefore there is domain knowledge required in the IT company as well as the knowledge of the technology implementation also. So those that have addressed it, and there are many companies, I can tell you, I'm familiar with some companies. It is certainly helping those companies. You know, see their share prices have run up, as you said.
Okay. Mr. Shah, you have a keen eye for identifying value and growth. In the mid-cap space, which sectors would you look for both value and growth?
Well, there are interesting possibilities that emerge as, new technology comes in. You've seen, and these stocks have run up. I'm not suggesting that. But see, for instance, smart meters, and now, you see this kind of transmission story playing out with new or players endowed with capital coming into transmission and distribution. They will all need smart meters and so on. So you're seeing, for instance, run up in those stocks, and rightly so, because India, without smart grids and with all this solar and renewable energy coming in, which is erratic in generation of power, you need smarter grids and smarter meters. So you can see something like that. But of course, in the traditional sector, I think there may be value even in the pharmaceutical sector. It's been beaten down. It's as if the Western world will stop buying Indian products. I don't think that is the case. The Western world needs to contain its costs in Medicare and so on, and I think the Indian companies are very well positioned for that, and they've learned their lesson from the FDA onslaught, and so there'll be quality companies that will maintain quality and address the markets very well, and they're continually coming out with new products in new therapeutic areas which are coming off patent or developing their own products. So I think we have got a good, plus the Indian market is growing, of course, very well. So those who have got an Indian market and an export market I think can do very well.
Okay, for the record now, the HCC stock is actually on the temporary 10% freeze. These F&O stocks move in that way. They hit 10% freeze, then that freeze opens, and then we've seen that play out in the past. So that really is the one where there's quite a bit of activity. In fact, now up about 11.5% in cash, in F&O frozen at 10. It will open in a bit, but Reliance Infra is up 6%, Capital up 3.5%, Manappuram up 3.5%, NHPC, PVR, a lot of these stocks doing well. Adani Power as well. Any thoughts on power space, Pradeep? We have seen quite a bit of rally here as well, at least in some pockets.
There's so much uncertainty there. You see, the state distribution companies don't want to buy power even if their customers are starving for power. So you cannot have this kind of thing. The central government wants 24/7 power, but the states now don't always have the means to offer 24/7 power because they have subsidy programs. I think the ultimate problem that has to be addressed is the reduction of subsidies, whether it's in agricultural sector or in the urban poor sector. If at least cost recovery is done and cross subsidies avoided, and if the government insists on subsidies being transparent in the state budgets, I think we'll go a long way towards solving the power problem. Mr. Piyush Goyal tried to put the Uday scheme in place, which helped the state state distribution companies to come down in the cost of interest. But and there was some indication that they had to reduce their transmission and distribution losses and so on. But that's not enough. I think we need to also get states to require compulsorily to provide 24/7 power to the consumers. Then there'll be demand for power, and then of course all the generation capacity that is lying idle, that could be put to use, will be put to use.
Well, sir, we have 30 sovereigns, and the Constitution will not allow the central government to bring out such a fatwa on a state government. So that's something we really will have to await. Well, I mean, you have the most illustrious record in terms of the way you have looked at the Indian corporate sector at the founding level of HDFC and then at CRISIL. You've been there, done that. Give us the big theme of 2018 before we let you go.
Well, there are 8 elections, so and a government has received a jolt, whether they like it or not. It is the BJP has received a jolt in Gujarat. So I don't expect big ticket reforms. Now, big ticket reforms which are on the cards, on the anvil, are, for instance, the direct benefit transfer to farmers.
Yes.
Then there is talk of labor reforms. Then there is talk of other reforms. The tragedy in these big ticket reforms is that unless the implementation is faultless, there's potential for huge turbulence, huge unrest. Even, for instance, the agricultural sector in Gujarat, which is supposed to the rural constituencies, did not do well for the government. And the analysts blame the minimum support price program government. You know, Modi didn't increase the minimum support price because he didn't want inflation to inch up. But it's not just that. It's the heavy-handed implementation of Aadhaar, that without your Aadhaar link, you couldn't get your subsidy or your minimum support price for your products and so on, which created so much bureaucratic hassles for farmers. Now, if the government doesn't recognize that this is an implementation problem, just as the GST, well conceived, it was a good and designed as a good and simple tax, or conceived as a good and simple tax, but it ceased to be simple. That was the problem. Fortunately, the government has been very responsive. Dr. Adhya and others have been working overtime to try and simplify it. But if it is simplified in the first place and then implemented, it would be wonderful.
Yep.
So I hope and think that they will not implement these big ticket reforms which have big vulnerability to implementation issues.
All right, sir. Thanks a lot for your time. That's, of course, realistic view on the market. Maybe 10,463 right now, and CAT is the stock which has now moved to high point. Adani Power has moved to high point. So a lot of these stocks doing well. Eicher Motor stock, of course, has risen 40% this year, and with the likely pro-farm focus in the upcoming budget, the bets are on for next year, even in terms of the commercial vehicle segment, because Eicher Motors, of course, is a Royal Enfield story largely, but there's also the commercial vehicle part. We have Vinod Agarwal, MD and CEO of commercial vehicles part of Eicher Motors, now joining us. Vinod, good morning. Are the green shoots for real, or is this just base effect playing out for now?
No, I think for the time being, they look to be absolutely real. Especially, we are seeing a lot of benefits because of GST now, because I think with GST implementation, more and more teething troubles are getting over now. And we see a lot of action on the ground with respect to optimization of warehouses. And when the optimization of warehouses happen, then I think there is a lot of migration towards the higher tonnage trucks. And then, of course, you need to move the larger cargoes. And that's become very, very efficient if you move them through the larger trucks. So that's one big benefit. And then there are overloading restrictions in the various states, and that is leading to a lot of replacements. And then the industry is on the roll. As of now, we are expecting very good traction in the CV industry, especially in the higher tonnage trucks.
Okay, I was just looking at all your CV sales numbers. For the month of November, you sold 4,916. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, that's quite a fall, isn't it, from the kind of run rate you had set for yourself in September and October. September was 6,083. October was 5,228. This fall in November, is it one-off? What should we expect as the average for second half?
No, if you look at, you have to compare it on year, because if you compare with the last year...
Sir, but I didn't do... No, I deliberately didn't do year on year, because last year, November, December, Jan were affected by demonetization. So year on year gives you, this huge 25%, 26% rise. I was just looking at the 3-month. I'm not pinning you down to 1 month. But, September, October led us to believe that your second half is going to be glorious.
No, our November month sales, if you look at per se, we don't see that it was not good.
Okay.
Because October was festive months and September was half year end. And always November is subdued in between, the festive months and the year change. December is now year change. So December again, we will see higher sales. So it's all, each month has a different sort of challenges. Okay. So I would say that November was very good for us.
Okay, so would you say that you will average 5,000 trucks, 5,000 CVs a month, or would it be much better?
Yeah, we are expecting it to be better under the current situation, because if you analyze the demand right now, the demand is very good. In fact, there is a lot of demand, and we are having some problem with respect to supply of parts. with some of the suppliers. But then I think right now the demand is very good.
Okay. Where is it coming from? Which sectors?
As I mentioned, you know, between the hubs, now you move to you need to move the larger cargoes, and due to that the efficiency is becoming very, very important. And when the efficiency is important, then the migration is happening towards better technology trucks and higher tonnage trucks. And now in fact the government also has now allowed 41.2 ton in the rigid trucks. They have just issued a notification a day before yesterday that in the rigid trucks 41 ton is possible now, which is a 16-tire truck. And now we will be able to homologate those trucks, and that will lead to further you know, movements towards the, you know, there is another segment available now which is 41 ton, which earlier it was not there in the rigid trucks. So I would see this type of things, they are definitely benefit. Then of course if you look at e-commerce, if you look at rural economy, it's better as compared to the last year, and then a lot of replacements which are happening. So I would say there are a lot of positive factors.
Okay, that's interesting. So you know, with all these e-commerce picking up, GST being there now, so you know, there's obviously cues at octroi. I mean, the borders will come down. So overall, you know, you'll have fair bit of visibility in terms of what kind of growth rates you'll be able to achieve over the next 2 or 3 years, Mr. Agarwal. Would that be right?
No, especially if you look at now next quarter, Jan to March. If you talk to the suppliers, you know, they have very good schedules from all the manufacturers, all the CV manufacturers. So that's one indication that there is tremendous anticipation that the demand is going to be good. Now next year, going forward after March, I would feel that there are no negative factors. We are not expecting any new disruptions. Like for example, next year we should have more benefit of the GST implementation, because GST, wherever there is still some trouble, you would see more benefit coming in the next year. So we are very positive even for next year.
Okay. Well, just leave us with a word on your margins. I think your EBITDA margin for the truck segment was 9.2% when you reported your numbers. Will that be the kind of...
I think so.
What would we do in the second half? Will it be at 9.2? Will it be better?
No, I cannot give any guidance on the EBITDA numbers for the coming quarters. But of course, our always the target is always to do better, you know, because there are no negative things which have happened.
No, it's just that metal prices have gone up. Prices have generally, fuel prices have gone up.
Commodity prices have gone up. Steel prices have gone up.
So will there be a price increase?
But then of course there is.
No. Will you be able to pass it on?
Price increase already has happened. Yeah, price increase has already happened.
By what percentage?
First in last time in October. I think 1 or 2% already this month we have increased the prices in the light and medium duty trucks.
Okay, and you think that should prices rise, you won't have a problem passing it on?
Yeah, we have to, otherwise there is no choice with the industry, because when the commodity prices go up, you have no other choice.
Yes.
And then of course you have to also do cost reduction, but then whatever price increase you have to pass on because of the commodity pricing, that you have to do that.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, thanks a lot for your time today, and Happy New Year to you and your team. Of course, we'll talk now in 2018.